I'm bringing back the First Time Facilitator podcast for this epic conversation. There's reasons why I bring back the show from time to time, and it's to talk to people like today's incredible guest. Her name is Dr. Liz O'Riordan, and she is a surgeon who swapped the scalpel for the stage. So Liz is a speaker, author, and former consultant breast surgeon who has faced breast cancer 3 times herself. That lived experience paired with her medical expertise makes her one of the most authentic voices I've ever heard or seen. If you've got to watch her videos on resilience, patient care, and education. Now, in this conversation, Liz shares how she designed and delivered her very first workshop using cupcakes, Jenga, and a simple structure she found in my book, The 2-Hour Workshop Blueprint. That's how we connected. Liz just did this amazing LinkedIn post sharing about her workshop experience, how she was planning it, and of course, how she felt afterwards, and tagged me in it. And it was just so cool to see that and know that the book is having impact across the world. So if you've ever been asked to run a workshop and thought, where do I even start here? I think Liz's story will be really inspiring for you. Plus, you'll hear the enthusiasm and the cool stuff that she did in her session as well. And she's so excited to run even more workshops after this first one. Enjoy the episode. I'm so excited to welcome onto the podcast Dr. Liz O'Riordan. Liz, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Leanne. I can't wait to be here.
The First Time Facilitator podcast, it has run dormant for a few months. There's been no new episode, but I've reinvigorated it for today's chat with you, Liz, after seeing your latest workshop success. But before we start with that, can you share a bit of your career story with our listeners so we can set some context on the work that you deliver?
Yeah, sure. So I used to be a consultant breast surgeon, spent my life training to treat and reshape breasts and remove cancer. And then aged 40, I got breast cancer myself. And it came back locally on my chest wall a couple of years ago, and I'm cancer-free. But the side effects of surgery meant that I couldn't operate anymore. I had to find a new way to help people. And that led to me talking and speaking and writing. And I do a lot of work trying to help people understand what cancer is. And someone asked me to do a workshop. And I thought, I've never done one before. I don't know what to do. Where do I start?
It is daunting, right? That's why the book was written, because there's all these experts out there and you're known for your knowledge and your passion for what you do. And people think as well, when you share that, and you're very prolific online, right? So you're an educator. I would say also entertaining. You keep it real and relevant for people. And so you think, oh yeah, I can just run a workshop, right? But it's quite different. Did you find that as you were going through planning and designing your first sesh?
Yeah, I did. So I'm used to getting up on a stage and talking, and I kind of riff it and you get that buzz of the audience. And as a doctor, I was used to teaching on the spot, teaching people how to operate, teaching them to look at patients. But I thought a workshop needs planning. And it's not just me giving a lecture in front of people. I need to get them to do things. And how do I know what to get them to do? And will they like it? And it was like, I just don't know where to start.
So where did this all led down to before your workshop? Was it maybe the weekend before your workshop? I think you did a post on, this is how we've just connected, by the way. This is the first time Liz and I have had a conversation. And then I don't know how you found the book, but I get this lovely post from you about how you've been using it to design the session.
I went on Kindle and I was looking for books, how to do a workshop. And I read all the books and then panic and do nothing. Some of them were really complicated. And then I found yours, like 2-hour workshop. I'm doing a 2-hour workshop. Let's have a look. I thought, oh my goodness. I'm doing my workshop in 3 days. I wish I'd found this a month ago. But suddenly it was a really easy structure to follow and it clicked. And I'm quite good at doing things last minute. I almost need the wind at my ass. There's a deadline. I'm going to go and do it. I thought, wow, okay. What props do I have in the house? Because I don't have time to get this. And there were so many things I hadn't thought about. And I just thought, I've got a plan. I'm not scared anymore. I can do this.
So good. I love that. And I can feel that energy coming from you. Because I think you did a video as well before and then after. And actually, I'm going to commend you on doing that. Yeah, because I'm terrible at recording the content before and after because I'm so focused on the moment. How did you do that? I'm just curious.
So I'd had 2 hours on the train into London to prep, and it was about a 10 or 12-minute walk. And again, next time I'll take a suitcase to carry all the stuff because I had a rucksack. It was really heavy, but I thought I'm just going to do a little story for Instagram to say what I'm doing because people kind of like to see the backstory of your life. And I thought, this is my first time. I just want to share. I'm nervous. I still get scared. And I'll put them up. I've got kind of used to doing it. But that after, like, oh my God, I want to do another one. This is amazing. Just having a group of people in a room, they all knew each other. It was a small company, but just knowing that I could deliver it. And I'm sure I could want this later, but at the end, when they'd done it, I said, that was actually my first workshop. And they went, no way, don't change a thing. I'm like, oh, okay. Leanne's plan works, so this is great.
I think you're giving me too much credit. I think you've got to the plan is good, but it's also
it was the little things like take sweets, genius, and different prompts and a video. You said in your book to send a video to people beforehand to say, hi, this is me. I'd never thought of doing that, but they actually said it was a really great way of, this is me, this is what I'll be talking about, this is what to expect. Because I know videos are often really more personal than getting a PDF. So just those little things to introduce me to them, I thought, I'm not scared anymore because they know me.
that's right. Yes, because I think I don't really talk about the theory behind it, but as you said, it's really around just getting them familiar with you. Because how often, I know when I've gone to workshops and you don't even know the person, so you do your own strategic stalking. You look at their website and their videos,
Yeah.
but how nice to get a personal message that is, okay, this is what I'm in for. And I suddenly feel a bit safer and more trusting. And you've done that legwork before you've even arrived.
Exactly. And I think because I'm quite well known in the cancer space, people are still often quite intimidated when they meet me because of who I am. So it was a way of just trying to break that down. I'm just Liz. We're just going to be chatting today. It's fine.
So tell me about your workshop, because I know you use it. Tell me about the props that you use, because I saw things, was it cupcakes and
Yeah.
that did really, I felt like I want to go to this workshop.
The workshop was all about explaining what cancer is and how it happens, and how breast cancer is treated and what needs people with breast cancer have, because they're a digital platform trying to create a one-stop place where you can get all your questions answered. And I thought I could do 5 hours on this. So I was going to take cupcakes just to try and explain margins in breast cancer surgery. So you've got a bit of icing on the top of the cupcake that's the cancer, then the cake on the outside is the normal breast tissue. But it was so hot and muggy, I thought these are just going to melt. So the cupcake stayed behind. But I had a conversation opener, and then the first task was using Jenga. And that was brilliant. I was kind of using it to explain how mutations happen by taking blocks away until it all falls down. And I had them split up into 2 teams, and it was like a race. Who can keep the Jenga tower the highest? And it was really interesting because one group took all the ones out the middle. So it was really stable, but very quickly they realized it was going to fall down because they had to start taking the one of the remaining 2. Whereas the others were really more gung-ho and taking out the side ones. And a really great way of, wow, we're all buzzing. That was cool. And then I had various cards and moved the cards around. And I can't even remember what the last prop was, but they were just really simple things I had at home that just kind of worked. And it was amazing.
When you brought in that Jenga metaphor is incredibly powerful. And, you know, the different pieces and it's like, I totally get what you're talking about. Even if I didn't know anything about cancer, I would get it immediately. And then I was also thinking at the same time, no wonder your rucksack was quite heavy. You're lugging Jenga around London. We do geek out on there's been a post on the Flipchart Facebook group around what bags that you have. And I've got, various types for things like that. And I'd imagine the group probably weren't even anticipating it was going to be like this. I would imagine they thought, we've got this doctor coming in, she's going to throw her PowerPoint on. They must have been really surprised. Did you find there's like an element of you disarming like their expectations?
Yeah. I was like, right, can you get the tables moved and we're going to be going here and going there? And it was like, oh, okay, this is like a proper workshop. This is not Liz giving us a lecture. I've learned I need to practice how to write on flip charts. And I now have huge admiration for my teachers who taught me by writing on a blackboard for hours because it's really hard. But Post-it notes, sticking them all around the wall. And that was just getting them to stand up and put a Post-it note on the wall and then sit down again. So there's that energy in the room. They're not sat. That was really good at getting them to move and mingle. But the thing I loved, it was like, what can I do at the beginning? That conversation opener to get them going and to introduce themselves and get used to talking. Because you said I'm the geek who'll put my hand up, but other people don't want to. So we played an old drinking game called Concentration, where you kind of pat your knees and clap and then click your fingers. It's right, there are 200 different types of cancer. We're all going to name one and see how far we can go. And you can feel the stress on somebody's face. Oh my God, don't pick me first. But that worked really well.
Yeah. I actually is like, do I take this out? But I'm like, the best form of icebreaker is a drinking game. And it's easy to explain. People get it immediately. It's a bit of an easy lift. But this is what I love about what you've done, is you've taken a very serious and very sensitive topic and you've made it something that people can engage with and talk about without feeling that resistance.
I think I've learned to do that with a lot of my explainer videos about cancer because people like to see things, videos visual, and I now will use fruits. I've got piles of lemons and oranges and grapefruits and syringes and pens to try and explain cancer so they get it, because I can't afford to pay for AI and people doing fancy graphics.
Mm.
And that's having to do this has really opened up my brain again from being a surgeon. And how can I demonstrate things in a fun way that people understand? So it's quite easy to think, oh, how can I do this? And then also using ChatGPT to help me come up with metaphors and props I have around the house when my brain is
Ah,
just getting stuck.
that's really clever. You know what you could even do? I love that use case of AI. I have never thought about it, but I could take a photo of the cupboard behind me. You wouldn't know, but there's like a ton of props and post-it notes and things in that cards. I could just take a video of that or photos, upload it to AI and be like, what could I use here for my workshop? Because it,
Yeah. So I just said, what can I use around the house that I normally have to explain this concept? Give me 5 different
oh,
visual metaphors. And I often use that for planning my videos. If I can't think of a way to explain a cancer concept, I'll say, right, I like using fruit or I like using this. What can you
mm,
come up with? And then I'll say, well, actually, they're very male orientated. My audience is mainly female. So I don't want to talk about footballing. Can you give me something else? And it's a really good starting point because it's
I love
hard to
it.
think of it stuff yourself.
It is. And there's a real power in metaphor. Working with the group yesterday, we were talking about brevity. And it's like the best way to be brief is to use metaphor because people are relatable, people understand. And then if you've got the props, that adds even more weight as well. It seems like you're very creative. And maybe you've had that your whole time. But when I think of surgeons, I think highly intelligent, structured people. You know, it's a very compliance driven, high risk, obviously.
Yeah.
How have you always been creative or is this like a resurgence of this part of you that maybe was left dormant? I don't know. Were you creative when you were a surgeon?
It's funny. I would say a surgeon, I'm not creative, but I'm technical and I can follow a plan and I can do it. And you tell me what to do and I will do it because surgery is following the method. But when I got into breast surgery, it's like tailoring and dressmaking. And how can I take a G cup breast and reduce it down to a D cup and do it? So I've kind of that led to the creative bit. I've always done knitting and crochet and sewing and that kind of stuff. But this form of creativity is like I write books, but to write a novel, to make something up, oh my goodness, that's scary. I need a plan to follow. And so starting to talk and do workshops has opened up that side of my brain and said, okay, and being able to play. And I think by spending a lot of time doing videos, I've got used to getting my face. I'm used to talking to people and
Mm.
being vulnerable on camera. So it doesn't matter if I go wrong. I think that really helped to get in front of a room of strangers and say, yeah, okay. And I make a mistake, it's fine. But it's been really fun to get creative again and play like a kid and write, here's a load of Play-Doh. What can I do with it? And it's been great. I think I'm 50 and I'm like mucking around with stuff.
That's so cool. Yeah. I don't think people often, I do think workshop design is a very creative exercise. And like you said earlier, you had 5 hours of content. Often the most difficult part is like, what do I remove here?
Yeah.
And, you know, I wrote the blueprint and I still get in that trap of just wanting, you know, still thinking more content, more value. How did you consider what you didn't actually share in that 2 hour session? What did you scale back?
So I think one thing I've learned from doing my talks is it's not about me, it's about the audience and
Mm.
having a really good prep call. What do they need to know and what does success look like for them and what do you want them to take away? And I thought I can tell them everything they need to know about breast cancer, but actually they're designing a platform. So it was all leading up to what does a woman in her 30s with breast cancer need? What questions is she asking? And getting them to get inside that woman's head, you
Mm.
know, from a physical, emotional, sexual, spiritual, what are her problems and issues? And then what are you going to do as a company to help do that? So it was like, okay, this isn't me telling you the problems that millions of women have. This is how are you going to use them to help? And really getting inside the minds of what they needed. Because I can say, look, you can buy my books after, get all the extra information you need here, but how can I help you? So you've not just had a lecture or a workshop, you actually come away with a plan. And that's the bit that took the time and
Yeah.
the thinking. And in writing, we
Yeah.
say, kill your darlings. You love talking about this, but they actually don't need to know because they're not cancer scientists. You know, they're digital tech guys who just want to get the basics. And I think it's
Mm.
always coming back to what do they need to walk out of there thinking, yes, I'm buzzing. I've got a plan.
Yeah. And I think, you know, I get a lot of questions around workshops and the future of workshops given AI. We know we've talked about AI before and how it's been helpful with
Yeah.
your design. But I think for the moment, I would say for the next 5 years at least, workshops are still going to be useful because of that use case that you talked about, but the empathy that you have
Yeah.
for the topic, the life experience. And it's not about information because, yeah, we've got that. You know, we can search for things. It's literally about creating that experience and in that moment, creating some type of shift, I would guess. I would imagine.
Yeah. And I think you remember it when you're actually physically doing something with people, what you've learned. Whereas you can scroll through ChatGPT and read it, but it doesn't go in. It's like with a book, I had to physically sit and make notes. I understand this now. There's got to be a process attached to the listening or the reading. And it was those little conversations that you have in the breakout bits of just being able to share and connect with people. And that human connection, that feeling for you as a host thinking, I've done something here. And they think, wow, we've learned something. I think it just gels it all together.
So tell me about that post-workshop buzz. And did you go home and reflect on it, or have you reflected on it a few days later? What was your process?
So I think during the time, I realized how silent it is when they're all writing for 20 minutes and I'm doing nothing. And I was scrolling through my phone looking for a classical music playlist. So I would then have elevator music to play whilst they're doing stuff, because that silence was quite distracting in a way.
Definitely.
And I was just randomly talking, thinking, am I distracting them? But I can't do the silence. So I think that was something for me. How do I occupy myself? Because I'm so used to talking. It's like, I've got to be quiet for 20 minutes. What do I do? And to get one of your gong things, because how to subtly say, right, that's the end of it. Little things I needed, but I just thought this was so much easier than I thought it was, because I'm not doing anything. They're doing everything. In a talk, you've got the prep and you're on stage, but here you are giving people the opportunity to learn. It's fun. And I want to do more. And this worked. I think some of the stuff, I had a million post-its and I didn't have time to go through what the various causes of cancer were to give them feedback. And it's like making a list of things I would send on to them. My tech didn't work. I wanted to share 2 videos of me on Instagram using oranges to explain a project. And even though I double checked in someone else's room, the videos wouldn't load. It's like, no, I'm going to talk through, but you can't see. So just those, I wasn't very good at the post follow-up. And I think having planned that, this is my post workshop. This is the PDF of everything you learn. This is where to go, because I was doing it all last minute.
Yes.
But just that feeling of this isn't scary and I can do this, and I could do a workshop on anything. Now I have this track follow.
That's the plan. But that's the plan, because like I wrote it for me because I was getting asked to do all these different sort of topics that I knew stuff on. But then it's like, how do I quickly put it together? And I mean, I love, I always say 2 weeks out, but really I'm putting things together just to make that happen. I'm curious on energy, because energy is a really big part of it. And it's like sometimes I don't have the best night's sleep, but if you've got health issues, that's another thing as well. And so I'm wondering, how do you manage that, your own energy?
So I'm always tired on the cancer drugs I'm on, and it's trying to make sure that I don't have a busy day after or before, so I'm not exhausted. I'm always drained afterwards from giving a talk anyway, but I think it's trying to clear the days before and after. I didn't sleep brilliantly, and it's still going through my head. I'm always at last minute, I've got to do this, and panicking because I want to over prepare.
Yeah.
But I think that can make it worse when you over prepare everything because you don't know what's going to happen. And I had 2 hours on the train just to sit and go through the notes and then think, right, okay. And it's probably before you go into the room to kind of, it's like power posing. They say, stand like Wonder Woman, chest back, shoulders out, take a couple of big breaths and think, they're paying me to do this. I'm amazing. I can do this. Go into that room saying, hi, here you are. And almost fake it until you make it. Try to pretend you're in control. Because when it's a space you've not been in and I got there half an hour early, that wasn't enough to set up the room and things. Ideally, I need an hour, because I'm still going, and they're coming in, oh, I've not got my post-its ready. So it takes a lot longer to prepare. But in that hour, you can just sit and think, right, okay, everything's where it needs to be. They can come in now. So getting there early, I think, is really, really important. And it was just making sure that I ate and drank as well, because it's really easy to forget to look after yourself when everyone's doing everything.
I am the worst at that. I actually got another podcast called Leanne on Demand, and I did an episode how I was looking, I hadn't prepared dinner, my husband's away, and I was like, oh, I'll just go to takeout. And yeah, it was just all a bit of a mess. I was hangry, so I was like irritable.
Yes. It wasn't, because it's funny, during 8-hour operations, you don't eat or drink because you're in the zone. And then you come out and think, someone get me a Mars bar. And it's kind of like that. So it's, I thought we were going to stop and I could go and get a McDonald's for lunch on the way home, but no, I'm going to stop and have a proper lunch and actually enjoy a nice lunch, reflecting on what I've just done to give myself good food rather than just grab something to eat on the train.
Yeah. Oh, wow. So 8 hours, you can't eat when you're in surgery.
No, but you don't, everyone else around you is bored, but you're just in the zone. You have no idea what time it is. You're just going, and then you stop, and then it's suddenly, oh my goodness. Most operations aren't that long, but.
Yeah. The human body is pretty amazing when you can, The other thing, one question I have for you is just how prolific you are on social media, and the audience that you've built is absolutely outstanding. Do you have any tips for people like me, like solopreneurs that have expertise? All your content is really engaging, like your colors, your brand, everything about it is, I understand.
Oh, so I used to just be on Twitter, just talking about triathlons and baking. And then I thought everyone's going to know I've got cancer because I'm having chemo in the hospital where I used to work. So that's when I started writing and blogging. But I started doing video content on Instagram when I wrote my memoir, and publishers said, we can't look at you until you've got 20,000 followers, because without an Instagram profile, we can't market you. And my Instagram at the time was about rescuing hedgehogs and making my own clothes. It said, you've got to talk about cancer. And so I spent 6 months just posting videos pretty much every day and working out what did people like, what did people want. And they like seeing my face. They don't care if I'm wearing makeup. I started wearing yellow. It was my mum's favorite color, and yellow just became my brand. So my nails are always yellow. There's just a little bit of my color in every video. I played around with the different graphic styles and a couple of Instagram great coaches just to do a 1 hour brief. This works, this doesn't. I learned it's all about engaging and replying to the comments that people make and responding to other people's posts so they get to know you. And it was 6 months of really, really hard work. But I've grown this community, but it's replying and responding and saying hi and almost setting out half an hour a day to grow that community and saying, right, I often batch film videos. I do 2 or 3 videos at a weekend and then I schedule them to post. And just learning ways to make my life easier. The more you do, the better you get at it, the quicker it is. I'll just hop on a video and do this for Instagram. LinkedIn, I'm learning that it's a different audience because LinkedIn's more to speaking professional business profile, but it's about me and that story. Why do you care what I'm writing? It's not showing off and then engaging with people afterwards. You've just got to start, but to realize it will take time. You have to reply, this is a community you're growing. And it's really, really hard. But I think having a color as your brand can really help. And using the same font or graphic or caption style, people get to recognize that's you and your brand.
I was hoping you can tell me something that was a little bit easier, Liz.
I don't think there is. And it's like, so Instagram grows pretty quickly, but I'm on YouTube and that can take like a year to get 10,000 followers. They're all completely different audiences. I've had a video on Instagram that got 1 million views in a weekend. It got 2,000 on YouTube. 2,000 versus a million, completely different audiences.
Unbelievable.
It's copying what people are doing well and actually reaching out to maybe I'll show you how to grow on LinkedIn and using those tips. And then trying to streamline it to make it easier. I try not to look at social media until after lunch. So the morning I do what I need to do. Otherwise you go down that rabbit hole. And repurposing posts. It's like every 6 months I can repost stuff because it's a new audience who won't have seen it before. And that can make your life easier. That evergreen content that you just keep reposting to reach new people. It's hard. It's really, really hard.
Well, your next 2-hour workshop is how to get to 100,000 followers. I could do that.
Having a brand, pick a color you love and have something of that color in every video just to make the branding a bit easier can help.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you so much. Now, because you're such a, it feels weird calling you a newbie workshop facilitator because I just,
but I am.
But I feel like your whole life has been like for that moment. But if you can offer some advice to first-time facilitators who are listening, I'm sure they're finding massive inspiration in your story. The fact that it's so relatable that this happened quite recently for you. What advice would you offer them?
They want to learn from you and they are rooting for you to do well and they don't know what you forget. That's the thing, especially when you're talking. They don't know what you were meant to say because it's not on a slide. So it doesn't matter if you go wrong. You can bluff it. Prep and props. Keep it really, really simple. Sweets, lots of pens and cards. Kind of getting all that stationery beforehand was really, really helpful. And just relax and have fun. You can say, I'm having hot flush. Sorry, I forgot that bit. It doesn't matter. We'll carry on. It's not meant to be perfect. And then I think you can relax and enjoy it. I set myself really low expectations. I've not done this before. I think it's going to go about this well. So you don't walk in there thinking you're going to be brilliant and then you're pleasantly surprised.
I love that. Actually, Michael Bungay-Stanier, author of The Coaching Habit, who's been on this podcast, his advice was just aim to be barely adequate. I don't think it resonates with what you're saying around lowering your expectations because you can't be that rock star the minute out of the gates. That sounded like you were, Liz. I'm very proud of you and I'm so happy we've had this conversation today. Where can they find you, reach out, connect with all your work? Obviously, Instagram is one platform.
Yeah, so the best place to find me is my website, which is liz.o'riordan.co.uk. That's got links to all my books, my social media profiles, my emails, so you can reach out. And I think workshops are amazing and everyone should be doing them. And it literally thanks to your book that got me out the blocks and told me what to do. So thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. I'm so happy that it worked really well for you. The blueprint has had impact, across the other side of the world. So thank you so much, Liz, for sharing your story and what you do behind the scenes as well. And I look forward to sharing this podcast with listeners. I'm sure it will absolutely resonate. Thank you.